Greetings everybody, my name is Tommy the Game Master and welcome to my channel. Well, today let's talk about the new Masters of the Universe Revelations and, well, my thoughts on it. First off, I didn't hate it, but I did feel like there was a big mistake in making this. Mainly the mistake this arc that was Season 1 should have been saved for a second season rather than the first. And because they made the first season this, Kevin Smith and Netflix doesn't understand the audience and the fact that they had to lie about what was in it, and now there's a backlash, really shows how stupid both sides are. What Smith introduces at the start would have made a kick-ass first season of a show, and if a whole season was done like this, it would have wowed fans. Then they could have tossed it off to Teela for a what if He-Man died arc. Instead, we quickly find out that this whole thing was a bait and switch from the start, and people are rightfully pissed, even though what's in the show actually has a lot more good than bad in my opinion. At any rate, the first episode is actually really good. Again, I'd like a whole 4 or 5 episodes like this. The animation is great, and Mark Hamill's Skeletor is, for the most part, way more intimidating than the 80s Skeletor or even the 2000 Skeletor. But he does still do a few hammy or clumsy things, like right after revealing himself to the sorceress once he's broken into Castle Grayskull, he's too boasting about it that he gets blasted in the face by the sorceress because he's not paying attention and is knocked several feet. That scene was hilarious. But at the same time, he's also way more threatening, way more evil. As in the first episode, he also kills a minor character called Mothman by setting him on fire, and his reaction to doing this is similar almost to the Joker, kind of saying it smells like pine. In his trickery to get into Castle Grayskull and the revelation of what was changed to Castle Grayskull to protect some ancient sorcerer's secrets. And that revelation is all well done, and although I don't think it was really explored in the Filmation cartoon, Castle Grayskull used to be another building filled with knowledge. It was changed that way for protection. And Skeletor's fights with He-Man's towards the end of the episode was also amazing. And we see He-Man give into his dark side and actually run Skeletor through after he sees Skeletor so brutally murder Mothman. But that also seems to be part of Skeletor's plan too, because after he stabs him, it reveals that the stand he was in front of is unlocked when the power sword hits it, and it reveals this orb that is basically the source of all magic on Eternia / universe or whatever, which Skeletor breaks, and the explosion will basically wipe out most of the planet. He-Man decides to absorb all the magic, and in the process both he and Skeletor end up dying, but not before He-Man's transformation back into Adam is done and everyone, including Teela, sees who he really is. Afterwards, King Randor breaks down, the whole family that was built around it break down to the revelation of this secret and Adam's death, and Teela immediately decides to quit the team because she's tired of everyone lying to her. Skip a few months later, and she's convinced to come back because that magic ball wasn't the source of magic, but also the source of life for the planet, and again, all the universe, and everything will wither and die if it isn't restored soon, and for that you have to forge a new power sword. And the 2 pieces of the power sword have literally went into both heaven and hell. So Teela ventures out to try to find a way to restore He-Man's sword while dealing with the loss of Adam. So this right here isn't a bad idea. I'm not knocking the idea. Teela could be an interesting character for an arc like this. If He-Man's died and the shit hits the fan, Teela would be the one who would have to take charge. But at the same time, in the original show, she's the one who's lied to the most and kept dark about everything. Not only doesn't she realize the boy she treats like a little kid brother and the man she sees as a comrade in arms and even has a crush on are the same person, when it comes to He-Man, but she also doesn't know who she is and has been kept in the dark when it comes to her own origin. So the fact that she's fed up with everything and quit would make sense. But only if you know that this is happening and realize it. But the show doesn't give you much to go by. You have the scenes where Duncan tries to tell her about the second secret that she doesn't know about and is always being interrupted because, well, ha ha ha, this is funny and it's a running gag. It's not, it's lame. And if you've never watched any of the He-Man series, then this is a complete mystery to you. But if you have, you should already know what this is and what this big secret is. Just kind of like this Chekhov gun that they're obviously going to set up for Season 2 to make Teela even more pissed. For those who haven't seen any of the He-Man series, and this is especially true for the original, it's a great idea, but since the original kept its storytelling extremely limited and episodic, Teela's not a regular human being. Her fate is to inherit her mother's job once Mom decides to kick the bucket. Okay, what's so bad about that? Well, Mom can't leave her place of work / living home very long without having extreme consequences for herself and everyone around her. It's why Mom gave her to Duncan to raise and to keep this little fact a secret so she can at least live a free life until this moment. So yeah, for a story like this, Teela would be a good character to have. But this would be a Season 2 thing, not a Season 1. Season 1 should have been set up to focus not only on these lies that Teela keeps getting, but the relationship between Teela and He-Man, and you could also focus on the dual nature between He-Man and Adam that's brought up at some of the points. Focus on that and start off focusing on Adam and He-Man, and Teela taking charge for a few episodes for a season wouldn't be too bad. Throw in an arc for Skeletor and Evil Lyn to complete their characters and codependencies too, and we would have had something halfway decent. But instead, we immediately jump to this Teela being the main character, and we just feel baited and switched and kinda angry. And if you're new or haven't paid attention to any of the series in the last 4 decades, you'll be completely lost. Great job, Netflix and Mr. Smith. But what happens after the first episodes? Is there anything good? Well, it's actually not terrible in my opinion. It's just not great. Let's just say it lacks power. Second episode has Teela and a new character who I completely forget the name about. She's kind of boring and forgettable. Teaming up to take down Triclops, who has taken over Snake Mountain, and turning people into freaky Borg in this kind of cult-like thing to help get some cup of Skeletor. Anyways, after they're done stealing the cup from Snake Mountain, it turns out the person who hired them to take the cup was Evil Lyn. It's a really big shock. No, it's not. I saw this coming. The whole lady thing was done a lot in the classic cartoon. And again, I don't hate Evil Lyn being a main character on this trip that happens. She can be extremely entertaining at a time. But again, another first season dedicated to He-Man and Skeletor's fight, and having them show that she has codependency issues on Skeletor would have helped out her character a lot. And that Evil Lyn and what remains of the Sorceress are now in cahoots to try to restore He-Man's sword of power. The only problem is, again, one's in heaven and the other's in hell. After another episode featuring what Duncan's been up to since Adam's death, and to pick up a robot he made, the last 2 episodes have some really great moments and good ideas in them. As to acquire the Sword of Power, they have to go through, again, Eternia's version of Heaven and Hell. The first one is Hell, and it exposes the character's fear. We get to understand a lot about this character, Orko, and how he feels about how he's a screw-up. His original name was meant to be a great title to show that he would be a great mage, but because he screwed up, he got this nickname called Orko, which is meant to be an insult. And we see how that affects him now that he's this king's stooge. And plot spoiler, yes, they kill Orko off after this, but his sacrifice and the reason why he does it feels earned. It's a little heartbreaking, but, you know, I thought they did Orko right. One of the best parts of the series outside of that first episode. And again, some more of Teela's feeling towards He-Man are used here. And again, it would have been better if we had more He-Man to start off with. The final episode does get really good again. Not as near as good as the first, but it's still really good. In the last episode, we enter kind of this Valhalla area for Viking Warrior. And Teela runs into the real Adams this time, now that he's dead, and confronts him about the fact that he lied about her, about who he really is and what he's been up to the whole time. And then we find out something else about the other champions, which includes nods to other spin-off series like Hero. We also see this version of King Grayskull, which is a nice touch from the 2002 series. They get to pick their forms, and most choose to take up their power-up champion forms that they got from the Sword of Power. But Adam, when he died, deliberately chose to keep his puny human form, meaning Adam sees this form as being the real him and who he is, not He-Man. He-Man's the extension to himself. Again, a few episodes where the show could have focused on this character and when he was the lead would have been really good, and this revelation would have been a great one. Instead, it's just kind of interesting to okay. Still, the fact that Adam gets to choose whether or not he wants to leave Paradise to protect Eternia or enjoy his reward, which he might not be able to come back to ever again, shows a lot about his character that's admirable and heroic. And since his choice does make him a hero again, I wish they gave him time to explore Adam a bit more, but this idea, there's not as much payoff as there should be. I won't spoil again what happens after he decides to come back, but I will say it does have a stay tuned for Season 2 type of ending. I just hope Season 2 gets us back to being Adam's show, but something tells me it's going to be more of Teela's adventure again, and that's just going to piss more people off. My thoughts is the show could have been really good, even great, if it took its time and tried being a He-Man and the Masters of the Universe show, and then take the role of following Teela as one of its many arcs. Instead, we feel kind of like we got bait and switched. A childhood hero gets to play second fiddle to the rather dull psychic character that needs more development, and this show just feels like it's a bit of a letdown. Again, it's not god-awful. I will defend people saying it's god-awful. It's not. It's just not great. And as far as those crying woke, my thoughts are it's Netflix. Netflix always deals with woke politics. If you're going to watch a Netflix show, you're going to see some woke politics. That's just the way it is. That said, it's not really that woke. It's no She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. The most woke thing would probably be Teela's punk haircut that she starts off in the second episode. But she's still straight. She still has feelings for He-Man. That's one of the reasons why she feels so hurt after his death. Because she was lied to. The two people who she cared for the most were the same person. And she's conflicted. So, yeah, it doesn't get woke. Yes, she does have a new female friend, but there's no love interest, at least at the end of Season 1. Who knows what's going to happen on Season 2, but I would not say this is a quote-unquote woke show. Like I said, the fact that Teela becomes kind of the main character after He-Man's death is kind of actually something set up in the original lore, so I don't think it's a bad thing to follow her. I think it was a bad thing to not start off following He-Man. You guys have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for choosing this video. I hope to see you soon. If you have any comments, feel free to leave them down below.